Hey guys, Jason here. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today I've got an update for you guys on the Stephen King reading project where I'm trying to read all of Stephen King's novels. I started a couple years ago and I'm slowly working my way through. It's been a little while since my last video. It just took me a long time to read all these books and I was reading other stuff in between. But I'm dedicated to finishing this project. I want to finish all of his books by the end of the year. I've got about 20 more to read, or not, maybe not quite. Basically, this video is part 2 of the 1990s. It's basically everything that was published from 1995 until 1999. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through them and I'll give you a couple of, just briefly, what I thought about them. So let's get started. First up is Rose Madder. I thought this book was pretty good. It's pretty heavy. It's about domestic violence and abusive relationships and things like that. Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty rough stuff in here. Also, normal Stephen King stuff. There's some supernatural things that go on with the painting. I don't want to give too much away, but it was pretty interesting. All right, so the next one is The Green Mile, which is a pretty it's a fantastic book. It's pretty interesting. It was published between March and August of 1996. So what he did was he would put out one every month, which is sweet. Like, I don't know, serial novels. It's not something that we see very often. So it's a cool way to publish a novel. And then of course they did publish a collected one, which I don't have a copy of. I just have these. But yeah, it was really good. If you don't know what The Green Mile is about, it's basically about an inmate on death row who was wrongfully convicted of a crime. He's going to be put to death, and it's a story about that. He's also got some supernatural abilities. It's told through the eyes of the guy who carries out he runs the prison or whatever. He's gonna carry out the execution, and he's in this moral dilemma about, he knows this guy's innocent, but he's got to do his job and all this stuff. It's really, it's really good. The next one up, published in September of 1996, is Desperation. This is a really weird novel. I thought it was pretty good for the first half, and then it got maybe a little too preachy. It's a lot about God and stuff, and it kind of gets weird. But I thought it was pretty good. It's a lot of body horror stuff, which Stephen King doesn't do a ton of that. So that was interesting. There's a lot of cool gore and stuff in this novel. But yeah, it was okay. Published on the exact same day, it's the companion novel is The Regulators by Richard Bachman. They're not really connected. They kind of are. The characters' names are reused. I liked The Regulators better than I liked Desperation. Yeah, it was good. It was weird. It's a very weird book. But yeah, pretty good. And I just want to show you guys too, because like I said, these were published on the same day, and they are companion novels, and the hardcovers are pretty sweet. They actually line up and make a cool little mosaic picture, which is I thought was pretty awesome. So anyway, next up, published in November of 1997, is Wizard and Glass. This is book 4 of the Dark Tower series, and I think it's my favorite one. This might be my favorite Stephen King novel of all time, at least that I've read, and I'm getting to the point where I'm almost done with all of them. So yeah, unless something bumps this one off the top, this is probably going to be my number 1. I love this book so much. It's not even it's all backstory about Roland. I'm not going to give any too much away from the Dark Tower, but it's his backstory. Roland's one of the main characters in the Dark Tower. It's tragic, and it's also the most Western of all of the Dark Tower novels, and it's kind of romantic. It's very good. I really love this novel. Alrighty, next up, published September 1998, is Bag of Bones. This is a ghost story, I guess. It's also a story about grief and about losing people that you love, and it is, man, yeah, it's a pretty wild story. There's some stuff that happens in this book that just shocked me. I was so surprised when, I'm not going to say what happens, but you'll know when you read it. I was like, whoa. So yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. And yeah, it's one of his, like, I don't know, novels that doesn't really get talked about too much. Or at least I didn't really know anything about this. I had never really heard much about this book going into it. So next up, published April of 1999, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. This is a really short little, almost like novella length book. I don't know. I could almost see this being marketed as like a YA book. There is some foul language, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty tame for a Stephen King novel. There's no, like, nothing too crazy. But it was pretty good. It's basically about this girl who gets lost in the woods, and she's trying to find her way out. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Alright, and the last book on this list is published September 1999, Hearts in Atlantis. So this is a weird book. The format of it is very strange. It's kind of set up like a novella collection. There's like 5 stories, and they're split up, but they're all connected to make like one larger narrative. And you couldn't really read them out of order. I mean, I guess you could, but they wouldn't make sense. Like, the later ones wouldn't make sense unless you've read the earlier ones. So even though it's like kind of a collection of short stories or novellas or whatever, I consider this like one story. And there's some Dark Tower references in here, connections, like Low Men in Yellow Coats is the first story in this. Yeah, but basically it's like a story about this group of friends that grew up in the early 60s, and it kind of goes through their lives and then into the Vietnam War, like their time in college, and then post-Vietnam War, what happens to them. And, you know, it's a really good book. It's really interesting in the way that it's told, and yeah, it's not horror really at all. I'd say, yeah, it's one of Stephen King's like more literary works, I guess. But it was really good. I really enjoyed this book a lot. So check it out. Especially if you're a Dark Tower fan. The Low Men in Yellow Coats thing is really cool. There's a character in that comes up in the Dark Tower. So anyway, that's it. So that's all the books from 1995 through 1999. We're moving on to the year 2000. And yeah, there's quite a few books that were published between 2000 and 2010. Or I guess 2000, 2009. So I'm going to have to split that into 2 videos as well. The decades, I got to split them all up because there's just too many books. He writes so many books. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I am redoubling my efforts to get all these books read by the end of the year. And he just keeps putting out more. He's got another book coming out in August. He just had one come out in like March. Constant reader. Always going to be reading Stephen King. So anyway, I hope you liked this video. And if you haven't watched my earlier Stephen King videos, they're all in a playlist. You can check those out. So anyway, that's all I got for you. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.